Good. Happy New Year, everybody. My name is Matty Malloy. My year's off to a great start already. I don't know about you guys, but I still am like reeling from this past year. Specifically recent events like November 5th. I don't know if you remember, that was a pretty big day for our country. It's my dad's birthday. Yeah, I know he had a great day. He got everything he wished for. It is hard sometimes, my dad and I don't really see eye to eye politically. And anytime we disagree, something he always says is, I read. I do a lot of reading. And that was always a shock to me because of how much he always wanted to take me to Hooters growing up. I didn't think he could even read the room. I will begin by addressing the caterpillar in the room. I do have a mustache, yes. I know. It was later development in my life, I'd say. I didn't really know how it would go. I first grew it, I was talking to my friend about it. He's like, before you grew the mustache, you kind of looked like a 12-year-old. But then you grew the mustache, now you look like you fucked a 12-year-old. It was weird at first because I did get a couple random compliments, and obviously that's flattering, but I also didn't really know how to handle that because growing up, anytime my mom was complimented on her mustache, she'd get pissed. And my mom came to a show one time where I told that joke. She was not very happy. We had to sit down with her after the show. I was like, Mom, don't worry, it is just a joke. Nobody actually compliments your mustache. Like Kimberly mentioned, I do have a birthday coming up, and every year on my birthday, my mom and dad always love to tell me the same story about how I was born. And always my mom would be like, do you remember when you were born? No. And apparently it was a week past her due date, I still hadn't come along, so she went back and forth over the train tracks in the car with my dad. Moving around. I know, I don't know whether to believe her or not. Either way, I hate when she tells that story, because ooh, not me staying inside of a woman longer than I had to. You know what? Apparently it helped. I was born the day after they did that, a week late. And I think it's funny because years later when my sister was born, she was born 3 months early. So that shows that my mom is terrible with her deadlines. So bad. My mom, she's pretty funny though. I always want to be I wish you guys knew my mom. But the best way to describe her, there's this TV show I used to be on called Roseanne. Familiar with it? So there's this character on that show named Roseanne. That's the best way I could describe my mom. She loved that show. She was always so proud to watch that show. And I agree that there were similarities. I just wish it didn't continue into Roseanne's recent career. But my mom was accurate nonetheless. I am originally from the Pittsburgh area. I grew up a little bit outside north of the city in a town called Beaver. You might have heard of it. It is indeed the only beaver I have ever been inside of. My high school mascot was a bobcat. People were like, why aren't you the Beaver Beavers? I'm like, that's too much beaver. I will never forget when they opened a Wendy's in my hometown. When you walk inside the grand opening, there was a sign that said, welcome to Wendy's Beaver. Served hot and fresh. And I'm like, who is this Wendy bitch? Why does her beaver smell like beef? A lot of stuff up there is named after beaver. I thought it was so funny. There's a high school called Western Beaver. Their mascot is the Golden Beavers. It's Golden Beaver, that's top shelf pussy right there. There's Beaver Falls. That's where the squirters are. There's even a Big Beaver, which, that is my worst nightmare. I don't visit my hometown that often, but when I do, I always have to go to my favorite restaurant in the world, the Brighton Hot Dog Shop. If you're not familiar, You have to check it out. There's multiple, but I think the Wieners and Beaver are the best. I did grow up going there though. My go-to meal always was 2 hot dogs and a banana milkshake. I had to get as phallic as you could get. I do really like hot dogs though. I feel like they've like kind of kept me on the right path in life. And anytime I see a hot dog, it's like a sign that I'm like doing the right thing. You know, I swear, like I went to college, my very first job I got, I was serving at a bar that only served hot dogs. You know, it signifies a lot of firsts. The first musical I was in college, I played a hot dog delivery boy. And my first wet dream was about Coney Island on the 4th of July. I like hot dogs so much, I'm dating a guy named Nathan. Nathan and I have been together for a while, and you know, I think one of the keys to a healthy relationship, you gotta keep things spicy, you know. So at some point we started to talk about how we could spice things up, and we started talking about role playing. You know, it was new to both of us, but we wanted to try it out. We wanted it to be spontaneous, so at first we were like, what kind of roles could we take on? Maybe like a pizza delivery boy, like a cop and a robber, or maybe a priest and an altar boy. Something very like light to start with, very easy. Like I said, we wanted it to be spontaneous. So one day I was like, I thought of the perfect roles, and I was like, he's at work, I have to take advantage of this. So when he got home, I had the mood set, I had some like rose petals and candles lit, there was some light music playing. And when he got home, I was wearing nothing but a diaper. I spilled a glass of milk and said, "Sorry, Dada, please don't spank me." And you know what I learned that night? My boyfriend loves fucking babies. I knew you guys could take that joke. Another thing we enjoy doing together is watching a lot of TV together, specifically reality television. That's definitely like my guilty pleasure. Recently we finished the Great British Baking Show, and fans, yes, love that show. I like reality TV because I like to see real people and see myself represented, and obviously there's a lot of people like me on that show that have glasses that fog up when they open the oven. Very relatable. One of our favorite shows to watch together though is The Amazing Race. One of my favorites, but that can be a little tricky, you know, when you're watching it with your partner, because you know, you always analyze the show as if you're going to be on it. So there'll be a challenge, and he'll be like, well, if we were on this show, like, you would have to do this so that I could do that one. And I see something, and I'm like, well, if I was on this show, I wouldn't take you as my partner. Things can get a little awkward there. I always love getting to be here at Arcade and perform. I started doing comedy here a few years ago. I've always loved performing though, ever since I was a young kid. And I would credit that to growing up going to church all the time. You know, there are a ton of churches in my hometown. At one point I would say Sundays were like the busiest day of the week for me, honestly. Like Sunday I'd get up, go to church. Sunday afternoon, I'd go to youth group. Sunday evening, I'd have dick to suck behind the grocery store. Just all day and night, I was on my knees worshiping. But I do remember starting to do Christmas plays when I was younger, when I was able to at church, and every year I would get cast as the same role, Joseph. Which I wasn't too mad. I mean, he's like a pretty important part of the story. But now that I look back on it, I think there might have been some typecasting going on. Because just like Joseph, all of the girls I dated also remained virgins. But I am very proud to have played Joseph and be the queer representation for him. Because I do think that Joseph is like the OG Gold Star gay. Right? I mean, listen, he was a carpenter, so like, crafty. And he was totally fine with Mary giving birth at the manger just because he knew there was going to be some ass there. That's a really stupid, right? That's a dumb one. I always have to throw it in there. But I have always loved performing. That actually followed me when I decided to go to college. I went to get a degree in musical theater. Thank you. Thank you. Don't worry, I'm not bragging. It's more like a shameful confession because I really haven't done anything with it. I have found that having a degree in musical theater, though, has always been a great conversation ender. Yeah, because it starts when they ask me what I went to school for, then it ends when I tell them. I try to be positive about getting a degree in musical theater, though, and like look at the good things that came about it. And one of the positives is that I learned a lot. Like one of the first things I learned when I went away to theater school is what a triple threat is. So in the theater world, a triple threat is somebody who can sing, dance, and act perfectly. And up until then, the only triple threat I knew about was getting cornered by 3 bullies in the middle school locker room. But I also learned that your childhood trauma can turn into adulthood fantasies. Yeah, like 3 guys cornering me in the locker room, I used to be like, no, please, and now I'm like, no, please. College was also great because that's when I finally felt comfortable enough to finally come out to my family. But because I do have communication issues, I came out by sending them an email. Yeah, I sent an email to my family. My dad's computer was like, "You've got fag." He ran to the other room to my mom, and he was like, "We've got fag." Yeah, coming out for everybody is a very unique experience. For me, once it happened, it was pretty simple that I had to come out. All it really took was pussy. But like just the word pussy. Yeah, so this is what happened. It's when I went away to theater school, still thinking I'm straight, going to a dance audition for a musical. So we get there, we're paired up to do like a partner's dance. So I get partnered up with this girl. For the sake of the story, we can call her Claire, because that was actually her name. So there's Claire and I were dancing, learning this routine, and I'm leaving room for Jesus between us because that's all I ever knew. And eventually she stops, she pulls me close to her, looks me in the eyes, and says, "Come on, pretend like you like pussy a little bit." And I was like shocked, nobody had ever said that to me. I never even really heard that word. I was like, what's pussy? I panicked, so I just said the first thing I could think of was, "Oh my god, I do like pussy!" And then it like played back in my head what I had just said, and I was like, "Girl, you're not even convincing yourself." Like, in what world does that word sound natural coming out of my mouth? Like I'm going out with the bros one night, like, "Man, it's been a while since I got some pussy." Right? Like, it's so unnatural. Maybe, just maybe, I could have like become an OBGYN. I'd be like super fun, like, "Hop on up, let's take a look at that pussy." Yeah, it's so fun. I love being back in Pittsburgh. I was living in New York for a few years and I've been back here now, and I have to say, even though I grew up here, it's very different living in Pittsburgh as an adult. You see things differently as an adult living here, and I had forgotten how much Yins love being from Pittsburgh. The Yins are so proud, and what did it for me was the Pittsburgh t-shirts Yins make. Shortly after I moved back, I saw a lady wearing a t-shirt that said, "IP Black and Gold." I was like, isn't it just supposed to be gold? But it was wild, like, Yinzers will take anything and make it into a Pittsburgh t-shirt, and they do it quickly, too. Like, I'm fully convinced Yinzers had 9/11 shirts made before the second tower even went down. Flight 93, Yins almost got us! See, sometimes I like to end with that joke because either way it kills or it bombs, but it's gonna be like 9/11. Y'all been fun. I'm Matty Malloy.